Newsbrief. Fatshark, the Swedish developer behind Warhammer, Vermintide 2, has secured an investment from the Chinese video game and technology giant Tencent. Reports from the Swedish website Deal Digital say that the deal sets Tencent back around $56 million in exchange for a 36% stake, making the Chinese company the minority owner in Fatshark. In a translated statement, Fatshark CEO Martin Walland says that the investment sees Fatshark retaining its independence and avoiding any major changes to its business. On Fatshark's side, the shares up for grabs were partially newly issued shares and partially some recently put up for sale by a previous investor. The pro-union organization Game Workers Unite is currently working with the staff of a dozen different studios, looking to arm those individuals with the tools needed to start the unionization conversation. Polygon reports that Game Workers Unite is actively working with devs from at least 12 established studios in North America to provide the resources and training those teams will need if they want to establish a union and negotiate for terms of employment and compensation. In some cases, Game Workers Unite is working alongside an unnamed existing labor union. The organization co-founder Emma Keenum says that most of those dev teams are relying on resources from Glue alone. It's about learning to have one-on-one meetings with people, learning about the issues that are affecting them in the workplace, and representing how those can be addressed with collective action. Keenum told Polygon how to organize a bargaining committee and an organizing committee and things like that, but also how to do things safely and securely under the watch of the employer for as long as possible. The topic of labor issues and unionization boiled to a point following several conversations about studio closures, excessive crunch, and sudden layoffs that took place this year, leading to the formation of Game Workers Unite. The organization aims to, as laid out in a blog post about its recent recognition as a union in the United Kingdom, increase the quality of life for game workers by seeking to end institutional practice of excessive and unpaid overtime, improve diversity and inclusion at all levels, support a boost and harassed workers, and secure a steady and living wage for all. Star Control Origins has been pulled from Steam and .com after Paul Rightford and Robert Frederick Ford issued DMCA takedown notice against the title. Wright and Ford are the designers behind the classic 1990 MS-DOS title Star Control 2, and have been engaged in a long-running legal dispute with Star Control Origins maker Stardock over the trademarks and copyrights to Star Control. Stardock claims it acquired the rights to the Star Control series from Atari back in 2013, but Wright and Ford have suggested that Atari actually gave up the rights to the franchise a decade before the sale took place. The pair subsequently began working on a direct sequel to Star Control, second called Ghosts of the Precursors, a move that resulted in Stardock suing both designers for trademark infringement while pushing ahead with the development of its own Star Control title. Rich and Ford responded with a countersuit, and have now managed to strike another blow by issuing this DMCA. Stardock attempted to get a preliminary art injunction to prevent Wright and Ford from issuing more false DMCA takedown notices, but the courts refused to intervene. As a result, Star Control Origins is currently unavailable for purchase on both Steam and GOG, although anyone who's already bought the title should still be able to play. In a lengthy post on the Steam forums, Stardock criticized Wright and Ford for bypassing the legal system. and jeopardizing the livelihood of its development team by issuing the vague orders. For those not familiar with copyright law, you cannot copyright ideas, individual or short phrases, concepts, mechanics, game designs,
etc.
wrote the developer. Star Control Origins is our own creation, without relying on the work of our fault. We spent 5 years working on it, making it our own game. That said, time and time again we have requested, specifically, what elements in Star Control Origins they think their copyright applies to. If the request was not onerous, we'd be willing to comply. Unfortunately, without the income from Star Control Origins, Stardock will have to lay off some of the men and women who are assigned to the game. We will do our very best to continue to support the game, and hopefully, Star Control Origins will return as soon as possible. The 2019 Game Developers Conference will feature an exhibition called GDCDEDICATEDTOGAMES that uses alternative control schemes and interactions. Gamasutra will be talking to the developers of each of the games that have been selected for the showcase. He'll conquest players playing with seating arrangements, performing the sacred but ritual, in order to free a demon from a couch. Through a shuttling where they sit with a friend or stranger, they can complete the ritual, and maybe learn a little bit about personal space and breaking down barriers. Gamasutra spoke with Carol Mertz and Francesca Carletolin about the challenges of turning a couch into an input device, how they look to bring a little silliness out of strangers, and how they designed their game to look into feelings of comfort around strangers and the deep thoughts we often put into where we sit down in public. With our Carol Mertz and Francesca Carletolin, we collaborated on everything for Help Arc, including game design, software development, hardware fabrication, and audio design. Help Arc is the first ever couch cooperative game, where the couch is the controller. You have to team up with a friend or friends to perform the sacred but ritual to release a demon trapped inside of the couch. Players follow the demon's instructions, moving their butts from cushion to cushion, to successfully exercise the couch. Carol sat down one day and made a list of theme ideas that we could apply to couch-centric gameplay, and as soon as she wrote down the word "help out," she decided that it was the design hill to die on. She could be heard screaming "help out" over and over for an entire week, and Francesca could not say no to that level of enthusiasm. Our core design values going into the project were to make something cooperative that was fun to both play and watch, and that really embraced the couch as an input medium. We worked on the project under Bennett Fort's advisement at the New Game Center, where he pointed us toward other projects that play with spatial negotiation. Copenhagen Game Collectives
BUTTON
and sitting as gameplay involved through meditation. After reflecting on these projects and the ways that people interact with couches both in their own homes and in public spaces, we started thinking about simple interactions that could translate to fun gameplay. Sitting and negotiating space with friends and strangers is actually a really interesting design space. So we designed a simple game that makes people compromise on where, how, and when to sit. Turns out that when a bunch of folks are bouncing on a cheap couch, it breaks. We have had to reinforce our couch quite a bit to make sure that it can support regular gameplay. On top of that, we have to consider how and where it will be positioned, how and where people will sit on the cushions, and how we can support accessible gameplay for diverse bodies. It's also heavy, and we have had to move it a lot, which was definitely not the most fun part of development. Working with large furniture is a huge challenge. Folks do not tend to sit close to each other on couches, unless it's the only space available. Of course, if they are cuddle buddies. So the idea that players have to sit next to each other and bounce back and forth between close and more comfortable distances forces players to acknowledge and negotiate each other's physical presence. It's interesting seeing how some folks avoid sitting close to other people at all costs.